Hi, MissCoveredInPaint here with another episode of Critique Me Not. Today we have our two lovely Final Fantasy characters, Yuna and Lenne. They're from Final Fantasy X-2, and this is kind of a drawing I did when I was 13 years old, and this was after my first year of drawing, and so I was just starting to get anatomy under my fingertips, and what helped was that I was basing my anatomy off of these Final Fantasy characters with hyper-realistic faces and stuff. It's almost like drawing from real life, except not. And unfortunately, some of their characters and the movements and poses they hit are not exactly natural. So I definitely recommend, if you're learning to draw, to also learn to draw from real people, real life. But, you know, Final Fantasy was a great tool for me because it kind of combined anime with realism, and that's really was my niche at that time. I wanted to draw things realistic. And so here we can see that I'm going over and showing you guys more kind of an appropriate anatomy of this kind of pose. But in the end, I didn't want to keep doing this pose. It's just kind of sad and melancholy, and we don't really know what's going on, and it doesn't really tell us a story. It's just a glamour pose. And now that I'm a more established artist, I like my work to actually tell a story and have meaning to it. So here I am redrawing it like I'm supposed to. But first off, we're going to critique this pose. I'm doing a full body shot because their outfits are awesome, and I feel like it just gives it more breathing space to the work. Having it up close in that weird mid-shot crop, or not mid-shot, yeah, it was like a mid-shot crop. It just had some awkward crops and tangents that are really hard to avoid, so I zoom out a little bit. You never know. And, you know, I just feel like it's easy as a younger artist to focus on the face and not the full body and the whole pose of what is going on. You know, your face expresses a lot of emotion, but your posture does too. And I'm trying to work on that more, since my specialty really is in expressions and faces. So here we are doing full body, but we're going in on the face. And I really like this pose because I feel like it really shows the dynamics more so than the poster of Yuna and Lenne, and I'll explain here in case you do not know what Final Fantasy X-2 is and if you've never played the game. Although it will be kind of spoilerish, so if you plan on playing the game and you want to have virgin ears to the story, then I would tell you to turn off the audio and just keep watching, I guess? I don't know. But yeah, I love these games when I was 13 years old. They were awesome, definitely idealized in my head, and I played through and ate up the story like a teenager. So anyway, here we have Yuna, and she's the heroine of the main character, like the X-2 storyline. She's also a main character in the 10 storyline, but this is her story in X-2. So she's this summoner, which is kind of like a magician that calls upon these godlike entities. She's not a summoner anymore in X-2 because of the 10 plot, which I'm not going to go into, but she's kind of trying to find herself after everything, and she's super famous, and she's not just, you know, famous because she's a pop star, because actually that's a new thing here, and a lot of people when the game came out were just like, I don't understand how Yuna is a pop star, that doesn't come together, and yeah, that's right, it doesn't. So in the game, they try to explain this leap of Yuna's personality in the fact that these spheres that they're finding, which are like crystal ball things that contain people's memories, they are like recording devices, like a VHS tape or something. And they are also able to hold storage, I guess. And so they put these dress spheres, which are like magical, powerful outfits, on these spheres, and then they have a grid, and then the grid has the spheres, and then you can change in battle, and it doesn't really make sense technically with the story, but they tried. Yuna gets this dancer dress sphere, which is the outfit she's wearing, and it's the same outfit that Lenne, a pop star singer and summoner from over a thousand years ago, used to wear. And it's got Lenne's like soul or like spirit or like feelings inside it. And Yuna doesn't really know this at first, and you see at the beginning of the game she starts dancing, and she's like, I don't know what happened, all of a sudden I was happy and dancing, and I don't know. Later we see that Yuna has a connection to this other character who's a spirit named Shuyen, who's possessing somebody and wreaking havoc on Spira. And Lenne and Shuyen have a story, and you're not really sure what those stories are until halfway through the game when there's like political problems. Sphera is the world they live in, and it used to be, in the first game, plagued by this giant creature named Sin. And so the world was kind of united in fighting against Sin, but now that Sin has been destroyed and isn't coming back, they're kind of starting to get into these political factions, and they don't know who wants to like rule over all of Sphera, and they're fighting against each other, and it might be a civil war, you know? And yeah, so Yuna, being the person who saved the world in the first game, is like, well, I should make a statement, but I'm gonna sing it for some reason. And so she decides to put on a concert in the middle of the Thunder Plains, which is a place in Sphera that rains 24/7 with thunder and lightning at all the time. And she decides to make this concert on top of an entire metal airship, which just seems ridiculous, but somehow it was a great spot. So she puts on this concert, and while she's singing, she becomes so filled with like emotions and things that Lenne, this strong memory inside her dress sphere, is projected out of her and kind of takes over and sings about just feelings and words, 1,000 words that were never spoken. And it's kind of like her message to Sphera, and they get to see part of like Lenne and Xuyan's final moments and seeing how they were unjustly, I guess, I don't know if they ever got a trial, but they were shot and killed. And yeah, it's supposed to be tragic because they were lovers, but in the end, if you look at it, technically they were in like military restricted zone dealing with a weapon that could destroy the world. Xuyan was threatening to destroy the world, and Lenne, I mean, had good intentions. She went to stop him, but she was also like an enemy to the neighboring country. So yeah, anyway, it makes sense that they got shot, but it's a horrible tragedy. And so it kind of puts the watchers, the viewers of these two factions, kind of in perspective of, whoa, what are we fighting about? People are gonna die, that's awful. You know, forget the military and those people dying, these singers are gonna die. So anyway, it was, you know, kind of convoluted, but it was, you know, a sweet Final Fantasy kind of moment. Very pretty, very glorified. So yeah, we get Lenne coming down and projecting this message through Yuna. And so I wanted to kind of show that in this piece, and we can see that Lenne is coming down and singing to the mic, which Yuna is holding. And they're both wearing the outfit, the dress sphere dancer outfit, which is really Lenne's, but anyway, yeah, they can. It's usually when Yuna is wearing the dress sphere that Lenne is going to be projected like through her appearance. That's not quite what happens at the end. There's a lot of things that didn't make sense with the actual world that's established in the first game, but yeah, Lenne is projected through the dress sphere. The part that I didn't get is at the end, she's all like, Xuyan, let us rest, like, rest with me, I wrote you a song, and blah blah blah. When in the first game, when you're in the far plane, none of the spirits that are like been sent communicate, they just kind of stand there as a projection. But then we have like Lenne and Xuyan running around, but they're not actually in their human form like in the first game, like Seymour and Aren. They're just possessing people. And then it seems like they send themselves of their own free will. Granted, Lenne was a summoner, but she's dead, so I'm not quite sure how she was able to like send themselves to the far plane. Or maybe it was the fact that they were already in the far plane. Who knows? But I just thought it was interesting. I thought it would have been cool to see Yuna send them, because like Yuna could probably still do that even without the Sin being around, because yeah, people still die in Sphera. They can still become beings. She still has a job. But no, anyway, that was just kind of confusing. In the end, I feel like Final Fantasy X-2 is really just to wrap up Final Fantasy X's tragic ending and to give us the happy ending that we all wanted. But I don't know, it kind of wasn't as great as Final Fantasy X. So sometimes I feel like I could pretend like it was just a tragic story and not feel like everything ended out okay at the end. But yeah, it was a fun piece. The game system and stuff, like the fighting battle system, was slightly different, and the whole dress sphere thing seems to be a thing with like remakes for Final Fantasy. So we see the first remake this Final Fantasy X-2, but then also in like Final Fantasy 13 Lightning Returns, it seems very Final Fantasy X-2-ish with her whole costume thing. And I wonder if that's just going to be something that Square Enix uses to market their sequels because people like to play dress up. I don't know. But I just don't find it that appealing. It actually kind of in my head is like, if that's the case, then I don't want to play. But I don't know. What do you guys think? How do you feel about Final Fantasy? There's a lot of feelings out there. I'm really excited for the Final Fantasy VII remake, and if I ever have enough money, I'll definitely buy a PlayStation 4 and play, but I don't know what's gonna happen. Here you can see these red lines. This is my roommate looking over my work and giving me feedbacks on the anatomy, and then I'm going back in and fixing it to her pointers, which is great. So starting out as an artist, I didn't have really any artist friends. I was kind of the only kid on campus that was drawing, and when you're young, it's kind of hard to go around and be like, hey, can you tell me what's wrong about my work so I can fix it? But if you can do that, like if you're mature enough and have friends that can do that in the right way, I totally encourage you to do that because it definitely makes a difference and improves your work. So like you can see, there were a lot of changes I made here, like with the hand. My roommate also recommended that. And, you know, I put it through the brain filter here of like, well, do I like that? Because I'm the artist, not her. This is my piece, even though she is the artist. But yeah, think about that when you guys are doing your work. Having someone to look over it before you submit it, making time to make changes really impacts your art. A lot of the time, I remember when I was 13, I was just so done by the end of a drawing. I was like, it's done. I'm not touching it. I'm not fixing it. I'm not redrawing it. And I was kind of a bummer. I mean, it's fine because look where I am now, but it really is great if you can go back and fix or redraw a piece. And I definitely encourage you guys to go through that exercise as a learning artist or as an established artist, because you'll be surprised at how much better you can improve a work by just redrawing it or changing things that don't work. It does take a long time and it's tedious, but hey, in the end, it's better work. So I definitely think you should do that. It's definitely not the most favorite thing as an artist, is to go back and redraw something after you've labored over it already so long, but I mean, all the more reason, right? Because you want it to be good. You drew it for that many hours already, so just put a few more in. In the end, though, you have to like balance off, you know, what is the intention of this piece? Is it just a sketch? For example, this is just a sketch. This is just me doodling for fun. This is not going to be something I put on my portfolio or something that I'm going to sell. It's just something for fun. And it's something for you guys. So yeah, I'll put a little effort into it and I'll spend some time cleaning it up, but I'm not going to spend hours and hours on it. But I really do like this piece and I'm thinking about coloring it. Let me know if you'd like to see it colored. Here we're going to go back to the original, I think, and yeah, look at that, 13 years old, just figuring out how to draw, and 12 years later, after drawing non-stop, things have changed. And I encourage you guys to keep drawing non-stop, so let me know what you think, and I hope you learned something from this video. I'll see you next week with another video. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but it'll be a surprise. So, see you later. Bye!